Well, that was a waste of an hour and a half. I watch Pray for the Devil because, you know, I try to go to the movies twice a week. That's just the thing I try to do. Sometimes it doesn't work out, other times it does. And I went to go see Pray for the Devil because it's Halloween. I wanted to see a horror movie. I heard it wasn't great, but I was kind of like, let's go in optimistic. And this is just every satanic possession movie you've ever seen. It is the most generic, boring, trite of all time. And there's kind of an interesting story here because what you have is you have this woman who, she's not prayed, trained to take off and fight off these demons from people, and one takes over this particular girl, and she recognizes it's the same one that took over her mother and ruined her mother's life. And so that's a really interesting emotional arc and idea for a horror movie. However, this movie is very sanitized. First of all, this movie is a PG-13, which is just ridiculous because, I don't look at PG-13 horror movies as lesser than, but, you know, like a lot of the ones that come out happen to be bad because they are so sanitized. And like, I mean, part of the fun of like The Omen and stuff like that, these kind of satanic possessions are kind of the kills and things like that. So that's something cool that you that would entertain you as an audience, and this movie doesn't really have any of that. A lot of this movie is just jump scares and nonsense. There are good PG-13 horror movies. They're just rare. Like when you see a movie's PG-13, don't look down on it because of that being horror. Just maybe like question a little bit. Maybe like check the reviews first, that type of thing. Because there's just a few of them that are actually good. This movie is just not entertaining. I was very bored throughout this whole hour and a half movie because despite this movie having an interesting and emotional through line that can make for a very cathartic, interesting movie or storyline or all that kind of stuff, it just didn't come together. It was just the most generic horror movie you've ever seen, from the way it was shot, from the way it was edited, from the way it was acted, from the way the scares were put together. You're just not going to come out of this movie thinking very highly of this film. It was just a very, very bad movie that you're not going to remember at all. And it kind of sucks. Kind of sucks, actually. I feel like October this year has been really weird for horror movies because we've had like a great one like Terrifier 2, but that's kind of a specific type of horror audience that's going to love that. Not everybody's going to love that. So in terms of the mainstream stuff like for the Devil, the new Halloween, things like that, it feels like all the good horror movies came out earlier in the year, like Pearl. Would have been really cool to come out in October, but it came out in September. And so you're stuck with all these horror movies that are awful. And it's spooky season. You're like, man, I want to watch some cool shit. And instead, you're just getting the lamest, most generic trait. I really just can't stand this month for horror movies besides Terrifier 2. It's been a bad month for them, and here we are.